Today, we're honored to welcome Jane Gaudreau, a devoted mother and grandmother, loving wife, and the driving force behind the Gaudreau Family 5K. Known by many for her deep commitment to family and community, Jane has long been a steady presence in the world of hockey and beyond, supporting others, building connections, and showing up with quiet strength and care. With the inaugural Gaudreau Family 5K, she's created something truly special, a celebration of life, community, and the values that define what it means to be a part of the Gaudreau family. This event reflects who Jane is and what her family stands for, and we're so grateful that she's joining us today to share more about how it came to be and what it means moving forward.
Jane, thank you so much for joining us today. Just to get us started, can you tell us a little bit about how the idea to create the Gaudreau Family 5K first came to be?
Sure. Actually, thank you for that wonderful introduction, but it really wasn't me who really started it. We were having a really hard time, our family, of course, and I was speaking with a friend out in Calgary. Her husband was the assistant GM, and she had called a few days after the boy's funeral and was just calling to see how I was doing, and had mentioned to me that if she could make a recommendation, it was to find a project that would keep me busy, and one that she thought, or at least I thought, that would help me through, some of our grief. So I thought that sounded like a good idea. And then when I spoke to my family about it, they said, well, we already kind of have a project. Why don't we continue with the same project of the playground at the school? So the playground at the school was something that John had already started to donate towards. When my mom passed away in 2023, we said in lieu of flowers to please make donations to the playground. So it's something that we already were starting and we were working on. So we figured we would just continue with that. And that's what we had said, to like our family and our friends, what they could do. And we had, as you know, the hockey community is amazing, wonderful. We have hockey friends that we have been friends with since the boys first started hockey. And I do realize my boys probably started hockey much earlier than a lot, because my husband's a little crazy because he ran the rink at Hollydale. So they were both came home from the hospital, and within a week or two, they were, on the ice with him carrying them. So he wanted them to smell the ice and just get it into their bones. So our boys started with the hockey probably right after they could walk, pretty much. Or I think my husband said when they can go up and down the stairs independently. So they started a league. I think Maddie just learned to play at 2 and John at 3. And we met other friends there. And these friends we have stayed friends with for, 25 to almost 30 years. And one of our friends had this idea. She was at our house and she had this idea. So she came over and she said, why don't we do a 5K for the playground? She said, this way we can, all get together. Everyone wants to try to do something. They also were working through their grief. And they said, this way we can, do something like this in honor of John and Maddie. And I thought it sounded great, but I just knew that sounded really big. And I said, I don't think I can do, or my family can do anything that big. And they said, we'll just do it for you. And we will come to you with, like if we need ideas of maybe colors or different things like that. So we said, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And when we're ready and we think we can, then we'll step in and help. And unfortunately, it took a little bit longer. It wasn't till really the end of February that we felt like we might be able to start doing, some of the things. And that's when we really became more involved. But the committee up until that point had done so much. They had just gotten involved so much. They made all the contacts. They did all the work. And Guy and I thought it would be great to see a lot of our friends and family and just people that liked hockey at the 5K, because at the funeral, we don't really remember people that we talked to. I know there were so many people that were at our house those weeks after and at the funeral, but we just don't really remember. And I thought, 9 months later, maybe we'll be ready to speak to the people and thank them for, their stories and different things that they said, about John and Maddie and made us aware of. So we figured, we would try that. And that's exactly what we did. We just kind of let the committee take over, and they did amazing things. And we thought, well, maybe it would be like 100 or 150 so of our friends or people that knew the boys from hockey. We had no idea that it would go to this, magnitude. It's just unbelievable that it was sold out in such a quick amount of time. And then even with the virtual, we've had so many people from all over just say they want to do something, they want to help, they believe in honoring the boys, and they believe in the adaptive playground. There's just so much good to go along with this 5K, and that's pretty much how it all got started.
It's such a testament to the village that surrounds us always, but especially in the hardest moments. And to your point, it took off. It became a movement of sorts. And as of May 5th, participation has reached all 50 states, which is absolutely incredible. Most Canadian provinces, and almost, are we over 2,000 yet? Or are we still okay, over 2,000 participants. So what did it mean to you and your family to see the community at large come together in such a powerful way to support this cause?
We're just so honored. We're so grateful. We knew how important our boys were. We knew everything that our boys did, and how wonderful they were, but we didn't realize that so many other people thought of them the way we did. We heard so many different stories of John and Maddie, that people would come up and tell us things that the boys did for them or they did for their children. And it's stories that we would have never heard, because our boys didn't come home and say, oh, guess what I did today. So we would have never known about, probably 80% of what some of the stories people have come to tell us and the things that the boys have done. So for that, we're just so honored and to hear those stories and to see that what John and Maddie meant to other people and what he did for other people. And I feel like sometimes there's, you always sometimes hear about the negative things or the bad things are out in the world. And this, we've heard about so many people that have come to us and said, we're just so grateful that our children have someone to look up to like John and Maddie. And, what did you guys do right? And I was like, well, they weren't perfect. Like, you didn't see them at home. Sometimes at home, there were kind of like battles getting your homework done or different things like that. But it's just so nice to hear people say that they appreciate, everything that the boys did. And Father Tony, who was the priest at Boston College, he said something that will just stay with my husband and I forever. He said, he called it the Gaudreau School. And he said that the way that we raised our children, all four of them, was something that when the boys were younger and in college, he just was amazed at. And he just, would come up to us and say different things. And then he said he followed them through, both their careers, and they both stayed so humble. And he just kept going on about Gaudreau School. And he mentioned that at the funeral. And I don't remember a lot, but I do remember him, talking about that. And for that, Guy and I thought, well, you know what? We didn't do everything right as parents, but, we did do that right. We raised, four amazing children who are always trying to help other people and do things, for other people. And that made us feel, just a little bit better.
That's so beautiful. And to even expand on that, and you mentioned it earlier, for decades, your family has been a staple in rinks across New Jersey and New England, and, eventually worldwide with John being in the NHL. And to touch on the Gaudreau School, or the family, as the family legacy, continues to grow beyond the game and off the ice and into the communities. What do you hope people understand what it truly means to be a Gaudreau and to live like your family lives?
Our family is close. I mean, incredibly close. I mean, some people have really come into that didn't know us or come into and said, they're amazed how close. I mean, my 4 children were each other's best friends. They did everything together. Of course, John and Maddie were so close. They did everything together and had the same friends. They have a group that they call it the Hollydale Boys. It's the same friends they started playing hockey with. They're the same friends that they're in each other's weddings, and it just continues with, that I feel like that family closeness. And that's what we always believed in as parents. I have a special needs brother, and my mom was a single parent, so I didn't have a lot of family growing up. My mom's also an only child. My grandma was an only child, and my grandfather passed away when I was young. So there wasn't a lot of family for me. When I met Guy, and he was one of 7, and we would go up there, and I was just amazed at the family and how people just came together. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to have, that family unit that would always be together. And Guy and I, worked hard on making sure that, our family was close. We did things together. We went on vacations. Even as our children were adults, we still would go on vacations together. When my mom got sick, my children rallied around to help me take care of her. When he was running the Love Run in Philadelphia, and he had an incident, and we had to call both boys who were playing away for hockey back home, and because it didn't look good. And after Guy made a recovery, I remember John saying, "We're going to buy a shore house. I'm going to buy a shore house for all of us down the shore, and we're going to spend the whole summer together. And we're just going to make sure that because of him and Maddie's hockey schedules, we didn't all get to be as a family. Like, we could go visit one or the other, but of course the boys couldn't visit each other." And so the summer would come. I don't think he realized, like, some of us really had to work in the summer, but every weekend we would go down, like on a Thursday, and we would stay all weekend, and we just spent so much time together. And for that, I'm so grateful. Sometimes I'm just really having a hard time, and I'm just feeling really sad. And I think, I should be grateful because we had so much quality time together as a family. There are families that have their whole lives together that probably don't have the quality. Not everyone has the quality family life that we had. And I couldn't ask for anything more than, just have my children be close to all of us, and to respect each other, and, just to respect people in general.
And in recognizing that this is obviously our first conversation, I have to say it is so abundantly clear that those are the values that your family lives by. And I know just how grateful you are for that. And I have to wonder, and I know that this is probably something that you've thought of as you get closer and closer to the 5K. But in what ways are you hoping that this event, the Gaudreau Family 5K, celebrates the legacy of John and Matthew and the values that your family holds so dear?
We just want everyone at the 5K, which I really think they probably already know that, but we just want them to just help us keep John and Maddie's legacy alive. John and Maddie were loved children. Children were so important to them. When my oldest daughter had our first grandchild, and their first niece, the boys were so excited. They were away at hockey, but they were so excited, and children just meant everything to them. And I think this 5K will just embody everything that our family is about. Family, children, just, trying to do whatever we can to help other people. And that's what I hope the 5K, I hope that when the 5K, everyone's there, that they'll have a great time at the 5K, and that they will, remember John and Maddie and tell us stories about them, and just help us continue with their legacy and just keep building forward.
And I feel like that has been such a driving force through all of the promotion for the event, and as it's been growing in participation. And you mentioned earlier just how incredible it has been to see not only the hockey world, but like the sports community in general really rally behind this event. Especially when it comes to like really generous donations to the auction that is live now. So everyone make sure you go and check it out. But what has it felt like to see that generosity and support come together from all across the sports world?
Actually, my husband and we were just amazed. We were amazed at how so many people, wanted to be a part of it, and the generous donations we've gotten from jerseys and not only hockey, but also, other sports. The Eagles, which were really, really important to John and Maddie, they just won the Super Bowl. So that made it, even extra special that we have something, on our auction from, the Philadelphia Eagles. So that was great. But just, everyone was so generous. I'm not sure if you knew, but Zach from the Columbus, he had drew up our medal and the emblem. So it's just kind of like, everything stayed like, there's so many people that are involved. It stayed within our family and our friends. And, for him to have done something like that meant so much to us. And him and his parents are coming in. Also Eric Gabranson and his family, they're coming in. And there's others that are coming in that, we're not really sure, of course, because of other teams are in playoffs, so they're not really sure, how that'll, we kind of hope that we don't see them, because we would like them, our friends, to stay in the playoffs, definitely. But we're just so grateful for that, everyone that will come out to the 5K. And even those that can't come out to the 5K, the virtual ones, there's such a big unit of people from Columbus that are organizing a virtual run that I believe it might be the same day, which would be awesome if it is the same day. I think they have a week up to do it, but I feel like for those people that are running the same time as us, I feel like that will mean like they're there with us, even though we can't see them, but we encourage them to take pictures, to show everything. It's almost like the whole hockey community has come together, and it's been like a big warm hug for our family, that everyone's just been there to support us. When we went out to the tributes, there were so many people that were just, just there, just try to help us. I mean, they were also grieving, and of course, not on the level we were, but it was very comforting to us to, be able to see those people and talk to those people, and just, just everyone come together.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. And you mentioned it a little bit that the race day itself is going to be jam-packed of all of the things that represent your family and represent what you're trying to do with the 5K. So we've just got to know if you could share some details. You don't have to give it all away, but what can participants expect on race day? And that's true of whether or not you're joining in person or afar, like you mentioned, from the course to the atmosphere. What moments are you most excited about?
I think that the silent auction will be a lot of fun. We did a silent auction for our children's high school, Gloucester Catholics. We helped them, and so I know a little bit more about the auction. So I was like prepared, because at first I thought, well, the bids aren't going up so fast, but I know that all comes together kind of towards the end. But I see where people are starting to bid on there. That's wonderful. The people that are actually at the race, we're going to have over 50 raffle baskets and some mega prizes that people can buy raffle tickets for, and they will put them in like a little bag, and then we'll pull them at the end of the race. We're also, because children were so important to John and Maddie, we wanted to do as much as we could with children and have things there. So we're going to have games. We're going to have lawn games. We're going to have cornhole. Cornhole was a big one for John and Maddie. They really seem to love cornhole. We're going to have face painting for the children. My youngest daughter and I, we own a dance studio. So we have 5 competition teams, and some of the girls are coming there and they're going to perform on stage. We have a DJ, so there'll be music, which I kind of think that, whenever there's music, music and food, it kind of makes for a good time. So, and then hopefully the weather will be good for us. I know one of my friends had an app, and they looked they said, oh, when Saturday it's supposed to be 71 and sunny. And I was like, oh, that's perfect if it could just stay like that. But we all know how the weather is, and I'm just crossing my fingers that it'll just be a really nice day for so many people that are flying in from all over or driving in.
Yeah, if you know anything about what Ohio has been like lately, it has been raining cats and dogs. And so our fingers are going to be crossed that the weather is beautiful in New Jersey and everywhere that anyone is participating day of. And we know the runners and walkers haven't taken their marks yet, but looking ahead now, do you envision keeping the Gaudreau Family 5K growing and evolving for years to come? And are there, other things that you would potentially like to do with it to continue, like you said, to continue to keep the memory of John and Maddie alive and everything that matters and embodies your family?
Yes, I think so. From when we started this, what our main objective was just to keep John and Maddie's legacy alive, to make them proud. And I feel like with the success of this 5K already and how much it will do for the students at the school that we're all a part of. We talked about a little bit about family before. The place that I work, Archbishop Damiano School, that also has a big impact on our family because I have a special needs brother who attended there. My mom worked there. John and Maddie both volunteered there, and my two daughters both worked there during college, and my oldest daughter still works there in the speech department. So that all is, so intertwined with our family that I think that, once we get this project done, if there's someone else we can help or something else we can do, that we want to try to keep John and Maddie what they would like and things that they were interested in, and just kind of, branch off for that. So we thought after the 5K, we would just have the whole committee over to our house and just a way of our family saying thank you so much to them for all their time and everything they volunteered, and then just kind of go through that and see, if everyone was willing to do it again next year. I know we've had other people that said they'd like to come in and help. There might be some people that might not be able to do it next year, and kind of go from there. But, whatever we can do to keep Maddie and John's legacy alive and just to keep going from there is, important to our family. And I also think it helps a bit with the grieving process. We've met so many wonderful people along the way that we didn't really know or really didn't know their stories. And that's also helped us with our grief.
No doubt being in community and having, like you said at the very beginning, a project, a thing that is going to continue to fuel the legacy of your boys. There's no doubt in my mind that they're looking down and smiling, knowing that race day is coming up. And before we wrap up, I want to first say thank you for taking the time to be here with us. And I want to just give you the space. If there's anything that we didn't talk about, if there's anything that we haven't touched on as it pertains to the 5K, wanted to just give you the opportunity to let folks know.
I think we covered pretty much everything I can think about the 5K. What I would just like to say again is, thank you to, everyone. Thank you to especially the hockey community that has just reached out and embraced our family and given us so many special messages and cards and gifts, and just been there to kind of listen to us when we needed to speak out. We're just so incredibly grateful for everyone that came out and tried to help us get through our grief. It's like I said earlier, it's been almost like one big warm hug. And I mean, it's been from so many people out there, not only the hockey community, but the hockey community, of course, seems to be like, one of the biggest ones, because our whole family has done so much with the hockey world, from my husband being a hockey coach his entire life to the boys playing, that, we've had so many more hockey people, but there's been just so many people out there in the world altogether that have reached out, whether it was other grieving families or people who've also had children with, disabilities, that are so grateful that, we're doing something like this for the students at, Archbishop Damiano School. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. And, we really appreciate everything that everyone's done for us. And it's helped us a lot.
And Jane, I echo Jeremy. I can't thank you enough for joining us today. And I know I speak for both of us, for the Columbus hockey community, and for so many out there, that you and your husband and your entire family continue to be in our thoughts and our prayers. And we are honored to help be just a little part of getting the word out about the 5K and helping to keep John and Maddie's memories and legacy alive. And, we just hope that everyone has a great race day. We're excited to participate virtually from Columbus. Everyone, the in-person registrations are closed, but the virtual registrations are still open. So plenty of people can still register to participate. And race day is May 31st. And like I said, we'll be hoping for sunny skies, great weather, and we just cannot appreciate you enough. And you are in our hearts and prayers.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me talk about John and Maddie, and just the 5K and how all this means so much to our family. I appreciate it.